Okay. And please, stop me along the way. This is definitely, especially even more now, like pretty informal and really just kind of anything that can be helpful for you. Rory is here. He's also a coach. I've been a coach, and obviously Sherry and Cotty have worked pretty closely with some of our older youth too. So, we'll do our best to kind of answer some questions. And next time, hopefully you get to ask them directly to a young adult. But we did give a little survey with this talk in mind. So this is very recent. We just got back not a ton of responses, but a few who responded about some questions about how a CASA can support them and the things that were most helpful for them. So I've put those together. So I think what stands out all along this is, they're not even looking for big things. Just having a support, someone who is there for them. You guys show up every month, you check in with them. They know you're going to come back. And I think just that alone really matters to them. It really stood out, and you'll see that in other slides as well. Just showing up is really important. I don't know if any of you have had youth who are in a residential facility, but that can be very isolating. They don't often get too many visitors if it's far away. And so that also really matters to them, like someone actually being there, coming all that way to visit them, kind of break up the day-to-day of being in a residential facility. And then court, that came up. We show up to court for all the hearings. Oh, I'm gonna let Kate in. She does not know about this shift. I will have to explain that to her maybe as well. But just being there for court with them is also really helpful. If you think about the first time you were ever in court as an adult, it can be intimidating even for adults. And then our youth are kind of thrown in there with all these adults around in a very official proceeding, kind of talking about them and about their family. It can feel pretty intimidating. So just showing up for court means a lot to them. And Kate, I just want to throw out there. So we had a quick change in plans. Her technology situation was not working, and then didn't hear back about alternates. So I'm sharing the slides, and we'll have a part B with hopefully a young adult or two. Any questions on any of these situations? Oh, another one's coming in. Okay. So some things that are helpful for CASAs to know right before they start working with young adults. Maybe it's a new case, or maybe you've never worked with a teenager before. And I think every teenager is different. So just something to think about as you're getting to know any of our new youth. They suggested just knowing the basic, what their interests are, what are their goals, trying to learn a little bit about that before you get on. And I think our supervisors tend to try and give you whatever they do know as you're coming on a case. Again, something really little. People need others to listen. They're not asking for you to move mountains. Like if you show up and you're listening to them, that matters. And that, like I said, comes out very clear in a lot of the feedback from them. Taking the time to get to know them. Pretty simple, basic things can mean so much to them. And I think the next one, if you work with a young adult, this is something, substance use is something that some of them use as coping methods. It might be the way that they have survived, or they handle getting through tough times. So I know as, the team, we are encouraging them to find other, more healthy coping methods. But the one person here said, take the time to ask why. Every action is a communication, and there's some kind of root reason why they're doing the things they're doing. So being curious and getting to know kind of the why versus, don't do that, or scolding, or, being judgmental about what's going on. And I think a few new folks jumped on. If you hadn't seen my email, just a quick refresher. Some of you have already heard this, but our young adult had tech issues and then couldn't reach her to tell her other ways to get on. So we're going to have a part B and hopefully have her and maybe even a few more youth for another date. So sorry for the change in plans. And there really wasn't too much feedback on improving advocacy. I think the one that stood out here was if someone had been able to come in person. I think this is in reference to COVID or maybe a residential facility that was further away, where there wasn't maybe as much of that ability to see them in person at that time. So we all know the Zoom world and COVID kind of changed everything. There's having Zoom is great. Being able to have other ways of getting a hold and in touch with people is great, but that in person does make a difference for them. So I know this is kind of small, tried to get it as big as I could on this slide. But we threw out some things on the survey that we thought probably are typical things that might come up on cases that you might help them with, and just got some of their feedback on this. If you can see what types of things that they work on is the blue. So, most got help with a lot of the topics here. There's a few, the red, they would have liked help with it and didn't feel like they did get it. So just, those are some things to maybe keep in mind. I think the court case, I feel like everyone gets help with the court case. So maybe some of our youth kind of, I don't know what that, the context of that is, but I would assume that all of our CASAs are working on that in some capacity. And you might be doing things behind the scenes that they don't always realize, like connections to resources. You might be talking with the team about, or the social worker, oh, this could be really helpful. So they might not be aware of that. But I think just asking the youth what they want, like what can I do to support you? What do you need? So it might shift over time of your case, especially once you have that relationship with them. I think the one thing that also stands out that doesn't really reflect in the surveys, but that we have seen is visits with family. Sibling time is really important. And, seeing their parents, if they're able to, that matters to them. They've been plopped into strangers' homes or, possibly other family members. But having that time with their siblings and family is really important. So if we can help nudge that to happen or get creative in brainstorming ways to make, transportation for all of that happen, that matters to some of our youth that didn't respond to the survey. Any questions or thoughts so far? Feel free to jump in. Don't hesitate to just interrupt me. I can't see everybody while I have the slides up, so just jump in if you have anything.
Leah, what was the question on transportation about?
So it was just, did your CASA help you with these topics? So it was kind of a vague, open-ended. If we could go and ask them what that specifically meant, yeah, that could be helpful. It could be many things. And I know, you can't directly help them with transportation.
Right.
But, sometimes if they can't get where they need to be or their family can't get where they need to be, I know we have, encouraged CASA to nudge and try to help the team brainstorm, whether that be getting to school that maybe isn't in their district anymore or whatever it may be, helping them figure out ways to make transportation less of a barrier would be what you could do. Any other questions on this or any of the other? Okay, so I also went back and pulled some surveys from 2022 when we were kind of trying to get information on our strategic planning. And these were supposed to be from youth, although it does look like one person has an age that is not a youth. So you'll see, seems like one person who's 72 somehow answered the youth survey. I don't know. But this was a very similar survey from 22. And sometimes they threw in a Bridges coach, I think is who they're talking about, versus a CASA. I think we get kind of lumped together because we're both kind of people who show up in their life regularly and we're both with CASA. So you'll see that a little bit throughout here. But I think, we're advocating for them and they see that. I think especially our older youth, they know that we're showing up and we're trying to get their input and we're trying to put that forward. So that definitely matters. I think that second part, adulthood takes a lot. I think we even still see it however old we are. All of the paperwork, all of the responsibilities and things to learn are, can be overwhelming even as an adult. And so for them learning it for the first time, they can't just do all that on their own. They need a model, they need somebody to ask questions to. And so that can be really helpful for them to know there's somebody out there who cares and who's willing to help them out. I think finding opportunities, as good as they are with technology and going on the internet, I know the coaches and I have talked about this, when it comes to finding like a resource or filling out paperwork online, they still really struggle with that. And it might be kind of surprising to hear, but I think they still need help with navigating the internet in a more adult way than, the TikTok and the other things they do online. And I think, again, you see somebody to talk to, like it's a pretty low bar. Like they're just looking for someone to listen to them, someone to be there for them, and kind of show them a little bit of the ropes of being an adult. So, I mean, I think we all try to do that. So I think this should encourage you to know that you're probably doing the right things just by being there, and being willing to listen. So some more things they liked about having a CASA. Again, when they have a question, they might not have anyone else who they feel like they can go to. If they feel comfortable with you or the coach, you might be the person who is now, fielding some questions about life that they could use some help with. And sometimes you've worked with that whole family. They know their family dynamic. They know their siblings and their parents and what's going on. Even if they might have other go-to people, it might feel more comfortable to go to you. They don't have to explain everything. Like you've kind of been there, especially on longer cases where you might have been with the family for 4 years, 3 years. So it really matters to them. So in terms of what they would change, I think some of it was kind of out of the control of what CASA could do. And I think, unfortunately, some of you have probably seen this. They see us trying, and sometimes we can't
no,
make it happen.
I know. Kate told me.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I don't know, if we can.
yeah. And I know, and they'll be, but they're only gonna stay like 5 days. I'm like,
I don't know who's doing, can everyone mute themselves? Okay, sorry. If you're not talking, please mute yourself, just in case there's other things going on around you. That's okay. So I think they see us trying and that matters to them. They just wish that people would listen or that, we could fix the things that sometimes we can't. And I think we wish the same thing. So this was just, some of it was kind of funny, but I think something that was worth pulling away, the opportunity to get to know and share experiences with other CASAs. I think that is helpful. And I think, we're trying to interact with some other CASAs in Virginia and kind of learn from each other. And I think that's always valuable to hear what other people are doing and what other families and youth are experiencing. But I think the big thing is keep doing what we're doing, continue the work that we are trying to do for our youth. And I think this was also encouraging, how well they're doing in um, serving the kids in the community. I mean, I think you all do a wonderful job. You put in the time, you're here today to learn more. I think, they see that. They see that we're there for them. And that matters a lot. And again, they just want someone to show up and support them. And we all need a person in our life like that. So this next group of surveys is just for Bridges coaches. So it's there's so much overlap that I figured it might be helpful to pull some of these as well. And it's still directly from the youth and things that they thought were helpful. So any other questions or thoughts, or maybe even stories that you might have about older youth that you want to share before I get to this part? I definitely wasn't planning on doing this much talking today, so I was really looking forward to hearing from the youth. So sorry that I'm like talking the whole time. So again, we really got a lot of positive. If they filled out the survey, it was generally pretty positive. In a perfect world, we would have a survey back from every kid when we close a case. And we reach out for stakeholder input, we would have had way more. But I do think it's nice to know that the people who responded did have a pretty positive outlook. And some of the themes show up again and again. Just they need some guidance. Adult life is not easy. We're not born knowing how to fill out, to complete your taxes or open a bank account, all the things that they might not have seen before or know how to do. And I think something else to notice here, young angered children, and that's the third bullet, young angered children who badly needed guidance. So some of our teens are pretty angry. They've been through a lot in life. They might not have wanted to be taken from the home, or they're just angry that they've been through so much, and they don't feel like people are listening to them. If you stick in there, those kids who start out as the really angry children, obviously they value that someone stuck in there with them and still help them out. So I think it's important to remember all they've been through and the emotions that they might start out with on a case, and just hang in there. We have a case even right now where the youth doesn't really want to meet with CASA, kind of putting out the barriers and the walls. And we just keep showing up. We keep it 10, 15 minutes, or go with the team, and not make it an extra thing for them. But who knows, it might be that down the road, they might really start to value that person and see that even though they pushed them away, they still came back. So you just never know what the impact will be down the road. So, and I will just say, with our coaches are paid staff. And I think even then they see that, we're not doing it for the money. We're doing it because we care about kids. But for volunteers, even more so, I've heard them say, just how kind of shocked they are, how much time you're putting in, and you're doing this as a volunteer. And I think when they hear that, it really stands out to them to know that someone is taking the time to listen to them and be there for them for nothing, just because they want to help out and be there. They just really appreciate us trying to give them the things that they need. So something else that I think we sometimes forget with working with some of our older youth is that, they might not have had someone in their life who really kind of believed in them or showed them that they believed in them, or was the support that maybe they hoped they would have been for them. There are some families who this is not the case, but sometimes they really haven't had that support network, or someone who's maybe been stable enough to be that you know, that reassuring person, that stability, that someone to really be their cheerleader. So just helping them to believe in themselves is really, really important and can go a long way. And that sticks with them. If they can believe in themselves and know that like it can be okay, then they can push through some things more than if they just feel like, why bother? What does it matter? Nobody cares about me. So just know that that can really go a long way. And can't say it enough, just being there to listen. You see that all the surveys that came up multiple times. You know, we're there. CASAs, coaches, supervisors, we're all there. They're going through a rough time, we're there. They're, you know, graduating from high school, we're there to help them celebrate. So I think the fact that we are there no matter what's going on, we keep coming back. You know, that is really important. And I think, you know, we don't want to be the go-to person. We wish that they had like a broader support network that's a natural support. But if they don't have anybody else for the time being, I think the fact that they can reach out to you, like, hey, guess what I did? Guess what? I finished my classes. I'm on track to graduate. Or maybe they joined a soccer team and they want you to come watch them. Like all the little things to celebrate. And be there with them for are really, they appreciate it. So what did you not like? I think most of them didn't really say that they didn't like something that we really had within our control. But I think what is worth noting here is that first bullet point. It wasn't necessarily me having a coach that I didn't like. It was the situation I was in. I think we say all the time here, we call it Q-tip, quit taking it personally. And I think that goes back to that girl who mentioned the angry children. You know, they might seem really angry and it can be easy to, I don't know, feel like you're doing something wrong or they don't appreciate you or, you know, take it something that you're doing. And really it's normally just that they have a lot going on and they've been through a lot in life. And it does matter that you show up and that you care. Yeah, and we can't adopt all of our kids. I will say some of us may feel like we want to, and that can be hard. But we can be in their life beyond, you know, the time of a case if they would like that. So I think this one was pretty interesting to see the things that they, you know, later on, some of our alumni answered this, things that they wish they would have learned or wish they would have maybe paid more attention to. So, you know, the more people that kind of bring this up along the way, I think we plant seeds. And some of them grab on right away and others, it's not going to be till, you know, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. You know, credit reports. This thing called credit is very foreign to them and they don't really get it until they need it. And so, you know, the financial piece is always a learning curve for them. So I think, again, believing in them. They don't know everything. They feel intimidated, overwhelmed with some of the things coming at them. You know, when they turn 18 and they are then venturing out on their own, you know, they still need someone to believe in them and give them that guidance. I think the GED, we really, really try. I think CASA's included, you know, just to get some sort of diploma or GED. And I think they know that we want them to have that. Again, not everybody's going to take you up on all the advice and things you throw out there, but I think they, down the road, they think of it. And the very last bullet, you know, they have had so many emotions and they've had prior, you know, prior trauma, prior models of how to handle things that might not have been the way that would be the most beneficial for them as an adult. So just us being there to kind of help them calm down and kind of think through things is a life skill that they value later on. Okay, and I thought this was really sweet. One of the questions was advice they'd give to other young people in foster care. And like I say, some of them won't get it when you're working with them. It'll be 5-10 years down the road that things will start to sink in and they'll remember some of the things we say, just like any young adult. But this person said to take advantage of the resources and take in that information. And the other part that I really liked is there are people that care how you end up. I think the more that they know that, if their CASA is showing up and their CASA cares and their Bridges coach is showing up and we care, like they know that people do care about them. And we're not just here, to check off boxes. We really do care and want them to have a good future. It makes a huge difference to them. Yeah, and this is very similar. They encourage them to get those skills and knowledge, because at 18 and especially at 21, it's kind of going to be on them. They have to take care of themselves. They might not have that family support network like everybody else hopes to have. Hopefully they do. But the more that they know and can learn things while they're working with us, the better off they will be when they are out there in the world. So, any questions? And again, if you have anything that you've seen on your cases, please feel free. This doesn't have to be me just going on and on and on. If you have stories that are relevant, please do jump in. Happy to include that today. So I think this was a pretty big theme throughout, just being grateful for the people in your life and taking advantage of the resources. I think, when they're going through everything and they still have a lot that's on their mind, especially if they're 16, 17, and kind of bouncing around different places, it's really hard for them to just feel like, oh, I'm so grateful for all of this, because it doesn't feel like a very great situation at the moment. But again, down the road, what you do matters. When you're trying to give them the resources and help them, they do notice, or down the road will. I think another piece here that sticks out, and I know this was about Bridges, but I think it applies definitely to CASA. I was able to communicate through her. So, we all encourage them to be the ones that share their needs and their feelings. But as you know, we ask for their input for reports. Or if we hear them saying things they need, we'll bring it up to the team and the social worker. And I think sometimes we have the relationship that allows them to feel comfortable enough to say what they need. And so we can sometimes be that kind of mediator or helping them to then know how to share their feelings and thoughts with the team themselves. So that's really, really important. I think a lot of them watch how we interact at meetings and how we interact in maybe emails and text messages. So all of that communicating helps them to also be better communicators one day as well. I think the takeaway here, sometimes they can feel pretty hopeless. They haven't had many choices in foster care. They sometimes feel just shuffled around. Everything's happening to them, not for them in their mind. So being able to help them kind of shift things and feel like they can make a difference and they can have a voice, and things can get better, can help them kind of keep that hope. And, if something doesn't work out that they had planned, okay, let's make plan B. So you can pivot and try something else. Yeah, and then again, listening to advice. I think down the road, they all tend to feel like they wish they would have listened to things sooner, as we all probably do. And again, the theme about listening and validating feelings. I think we all, when their birthday comes around, we're saying happy birthday, sending them a text, giving them a card, or showing up, sending the holiday messages. They might not have family members or other people who are reaching out to them. I mean, that's sad to say, but some of them, that is the truth. And so just the little moments and the little things we do can really stand out to them. I know I have one young lady who she keeps every single card that she ever gets from, anybody on the team. And she has showed me the pile. And so, it matters. And, it didn't even cross my mind that I was giving a card, and she told me one day, like, she saves everything. And so, they care, and it can matter more than you even think it does. I think the other one I bolded here is when you have a problem, you can take a deep breath and find a way to solve it. This is a life skill that they have maybe not seen modeled. When a problem comes up, it might have turned into a big fight, or it might have turned into you avoid it, or whatever it is. It might not have been modeled to them how you work through a problem. And so the more we can help show them that there are ways to get through things, and there are people to help them, it can make a difference down the road. Again, they see that we are doing things. I think everyone on here, if you're at these trainings, we know you all care. They see it too. They know that we, are driving out to see them. We're showing up. We're, asking their input. We're taking their texts and their phone calls. I think they see that, and they really value it. At the bottom, this person said heroes. I mean, if you think you're not doing, you don't feel like your advocacy is doing what you want, or you're not being enough, you're probably being more to them than you are. So I just want to kind of express that to you as well. If you're showing up and listening, as you've seen, that's a pretty big theme. Here are the big parts. Some of you have had cases where you've been on it, we say 18 months is the average case, but we definitely have cases that go on a long time. One volunteer has had a case with different, there's different siblings of different ages, but I think it will be 7 years that he's worked with the one youth. And so he knows that family really well. And he's going to be, an ongoing support for them, and they want that. So, I mean, you're part of their life, especially on a long case like that. And that can really make a difference for them down the road. The little questions they have, the things that we try to kind of model for them, or, it obviously shows up here as something that stands out to them. So. And I think this is the last slide with their input here. Making me important enough for your time. You're showing them by showing up that they matter, and that you do care, and that they're, important enough to be there for them. And I think, they always say kids are like sponges, they soak everything up. They're seeing and watching and taking all of this in. So again, what you're doing, what you're modeling, you being there, it will stick with them. I can't say every youth and every relationship will be the same, and that all take away everything. But I think they know that we're there and we're trying for the best part. And I'm pretty sure that was the last one. So now that was a lot of me talking, and not really how I was planning on this, obviously. So again, is there anybody who wanted to share, their own stories of working with an older youth, or questions you have about working with some of our teenagers or young adults? Don't be shy.
I have a question. Hi, I'm Allie.
Hi, Ellie.
I'm not showing my video because I'm cooking. I'm working and listening at the same time. But my question is, I wonder if anyone's had issues my CASA, a young adult, moved to DePaul services. And what I found a little frustrating was once he went into there was this disconnect between the DSS and then I guess his supervisor at DePaul. And I felt like they kept passing the football back and forth. Like there was a situation with the cell phone and his cell phone broke and, DSS is supposed to get it. But the supervisor at DePaul went and took him, but then they didn't. It just went on for a month before he got a new phone. And it seemed there was a lot of passing the buck. And I was wondering if anyone has experienced that or if it was just an anomaly or I'm not sure. Or I didn't really know, like at one point, I think I frustrated the supervisor at DePaul, like, I'll be honest. But I mean, I was trying to be polite and kind, but I was frustrated for him because that was, he could only email at that point. He had no other access, without a phone. I mean, he connected to his, so his family is in Central America. So that was upsetting to me that he didn't have that connection for a while.
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate that you were advocating and trying to be another kind of someone nudging for that to happen. I do think some of those things get lost in the shuffle and fall through the cracks. And that's why CASA, I think, is important because we are focused on that kid and it matters.
Right.
And I think if people are putting out fires and thinking of kind of bigger picture, they forget like a phone is pretty important, especially to someone who has family in another country. And phones are kind of like lifelines for our kiddos. But yeah, I will say it does happen sometimes where there's a little bit of a disconnect, and I think every team is different. I think some work really well together and are, the more communication that happens, the better, if everybody's on the same page. I wish I could wave a magic wand and just make every team be that. So I don't know if anybody else has input or stories about that, but.
Thank you.
Mhm. And I think you're right in how you handled it to just kind of keep nudging. I mean, we try to be nice about our nudging, but we don't just let it go either. We, want to make it happen. So, talking with your supervisor about, hey, I'm really not hearing from this person, or this really hasn't happened and it's important. And then navigating how to handle it with that team that you're on. Anything else related to older kiddos or young adults?
I had a question for the group, Leah, if that's okay. I'd be interested to hear from those of you who are working with older youth or if there's anything that we can do to better prepare you for that work. Are there resources or trainings or other things that we can do to kind of get you the right tools in your tool belt?
Ate a couple of things. I have a kiddo that's just turned 17. He definitely has special needs. He's at a particular, allegedly behavioral school, but not near here. So it feels like there's sort of a double whammy, although I'll admit that the second part of the double just occurred to me during this training, but social services is dealing with, I guess, a new alphabet soup level of programs now that everybody's like, oh, he just turned 17. It means he's going to be 18 and kick off something else. And I'm feeling like, oh, another learning curve for me because I haven't had a kid in quite the situation. But my second thing that just dawned on me is he's in the Richmond area. He's been several places around the state, never here at Charlottesville for more than 5 minutes. So it's finding what services are over there, what connections here, then, 6 months later, he's somewhere else, and another set of people you're trying to find out what's available. So it finally occurred to me that, well, CASA is obviously a statewide and national organization, and gee, maybe there are people that have been through like searches in their geographic area, and how do we, or is it okay to try and hook up with whatever geographic area CASA might be appropriate and say, hey, who do you rely on, or what are the better schools or whatever programs?
Yes. I think you're right. I also think community service boards, kind of like Region 10, like people like that are similar spots in other areas. I think we definitely can ask folks who have already done the work and know the services versus, reinventing the wheel every time, because some kids do shuffle around a lot. Richmond, we know, more resources than some other areas, but if they move someplace none of us have ever been to, yeah, it can feel like you're starting from scratch. So please do work with, your supervisor whenever the moves are happening, and we can try to get you whatever we can. Virginia's a big state. Yeah, lots to know.
Pat, I agree with everything Leah said, and if there's ever anything I can do to help connect you with another CASA program, just reach out. I'm happy to do that. The executive directors of the different CASA programs do come together in person once a year and virtually every month. So I do tend to know kind of who's in charge. And so I'd be happy to make those connections. And that goes for all of you, anybody who would need a connection like that, of course.
Yeah, I think here as a staff, we talk about that all the time and are trying to connect with other places more just to learn how they're navigating similar situations. I think it's always good to have brainstorming and see what other people do. Anything else? Either case stories or questions about young adults? I know young adults need more, they need more things to prepare them for turning 18. And so it can be overwhelming for them and for you. And every case is different. So like Pat's case, her kiddo is going to need something different than another teen on a different case. Even if you've worked with, 4 or 5 different cases and kiddos, like every kid might need something different. So please do reach out. We talk here all the time as staff, like, what have you seen? What have you done? What's helpful? And it can help to brainstorm. And if there are ever in services that we can put together that you think would be helpful, please do let supervisors know or reach out to someone here at the office. We're happy to try our best to get those in place. I know it's hard. Every case is so different, but we try to find kind of the topics that could be meaningful for you. Anybody else?
Leah, I put it in the chat while you were doing the PowerPoint and talking about cards, but if people missed it, we got a donation of handmade cards. So birthday cards and encouragement cards, which include just hope you're having a great day, thinking of you, just all the gamut of thoughts. And they're beautiful, really special cards. And they're here at the office. They're on the first floor in the kind of library area, which is near the brown couch. They're labeled in boxes. And if you ever need a card for any reason for any of the youth that you're working with, just come by and grab some, or come by and grab a few to have on hand. They're really nice, nicely done, and we're lucky to have them. So please make use of them.
Yeah, I have one right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like they're beautiful and they're all individual, and they're all really sweet. So definitely agree with Kate. Anybody else? I don't know if any of the staff have any other kind of just things about older youth that you thought would be helpful. Or Mary, were you raising your hand? Oh, okay. Oh, you're,
You're.
I was waving at my son.
oh, okay. I just saw a brief movement.
I know.
Sorry. Okay, well, just know, we're all here. The coaches, the supervisors, Kate, we're all here. So if you ever do have questions, please, we're all here to support you. And the kiddos and the families you work with. So whatever we can do to help, we will do. And again, really sorry that things kind of shifted. I think the young lady, and actually Sherry and Janelle work with the young lady. She's great. I've heard lots of good stories. Just the insights that she has and just her, the trajectory she's on, her path. I mean, she's just so much initiative. She's doing so well. Been through a lot and doing really well. And so I do hope that you'll get the chance, if we reset a time, to hear from her directly. She's great. So I guess if you don't have any other questions, we can end a little early.
I just wanted to say thank you to the support that the supervisors and the Bridges coaches. I'm very sad that Ashley's leaving. I've really enjoyed working with her. I think she's been wonderful. You guys are all great, and thank you for everything that you guys do all the time.
Oh, thank you. Well, we appreciate you as well. Yeah, it's a good team. The staff and the volunteers, we all work together to support our kids. So
Second Ellie's thoughts there too. Sherry being my supervisor has been a great resource, and like any questions I've had today, I'm like, oh, I'll just ask Sherry. But anyway, appreciate your time so much. Thank you.
oh yeah, no problem. And I'll let you know as soon as I do have a new day and time. We'll put that in the weekly reading and get it out to you. So, but thanks again for your time today and all you do. And maybe I'll see you again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good Thursday.